Greetings. So, post editing note, the audio of this episode just got completely fucked up, completely ruined, so I just had to use the camera audio. But besides that, at the very end of the episode, I will be playing the music video and song that Justin talks about in this episode, Crickets by his band Little Wolf. And I fucking love it. It's my favorite kind of music, so I wanted to put it in this episode. But for audio listeners, go on the YouTube, skip to the very end of the episode, and you can see Little Wolf's music video, and I'll also put it in the link in the description. And hope you enjoyed this episode. Sorry about the audio, and have a beautiful day. Today, I'm sitting with Justin. Justin, what do you do on a day-to-day basis?
I, on a good day, solve problems for people.
Okay.
And get to be creative too.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by solve problems for people?
Yeah, so I have a company called Happy Tech Services that is really something that I started because I've always been the de facto tech guy wherever I've worked and with family. And so that it seemed like a natural thing, but what I've realized through that is I just love being able to solve people's problems. So it could be anything from somebody's having an issue with their website loading, or something with WordPress, or our email's not working, or somebody's like, my email's broken, I can't get my email on my computer, which really means, they have to update their browser or something. I mean, it's all across from people that are really savvy and just don't have experience with a certain thing to people who really, obviously everybody has business, but really are very ill-equipped to be dealing with the digital world.
Yeah.
But I really like helping those people, and I have the patience, and usually I'm able to put it in terminology that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's really fun for me.
It's kind of like you're a customer service company.
Yes.
Like the phone hotline, that most companies have, but it's your own company.
That really is kind of what it is. 'Cause there are plenty of projects or issues that I have other resources that are deeper and sharper and have more experience on stuff than I do. So I'm definitely not afraid to say, oh yeah, this is over my head. Let's bring these people in. But a lot of things in my experience, most problems can be solved with a combination of persistence and Googling or experience. Seriously.
No, that's the way of the world now.
Yeah.
For sure.
And once something doesn't work the way you expect it, people tend to lose perspective on the specific things they're doing. So there are a lot of times too, which my wife jokes about all the time, where I'll just show up, I'll just be in the room, and they'll do it and it'll work. Which probably doesn't mean I'm not doing anything. There's no magic about, or I shouldn't say that. Maybe there is magic about it, but I'm not aware of it. I'm not promoting it. Whatever. Anyway, the point is, I'd like to believe that, but
yeah, it's your superpower.
Yeah, exactly. But I think people really, when somebody's watching, they're just more intentional about what they're doing.
Yeah.
So whereas before they thought they were doing exactly the same thing as they did when I wasn't in the room, it probably was a little bit different because all of a sudden they're not on their own. Somebody's paying attention. There's a safety net if it doesn't work.
Totally. Well, it's I don't know if you've experienced this, but I'm a horrible driver.
Okay.
And when I drive with people in the car, I drive worse.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because it's like you notice all the little things that you do that you don't notice when you're by yourself because there's someone in the car. Totally. So now you get their vibe. You're just like, oh shit, they didn't like that.
Oh, totally.
I must have messed up.
Well, that's a thing when I drive with my family. Like when I'm on my own, I have no problem. And when I'm with my family, probably 5% of the time, I'll just, maybe more than that. I mean, my family would probably say 50%, but I'll just drive to the wrong place or forget we're going to stop by here on the way. And I'll just be driving to the end place and not even think about it. And you missed the turn.
Yeah. And
I'll do that, I'm sure, when I'm alone, but then I just realize I'm like, oh, okay, cool, I got to go back.
You don't even think twice.
Yeah, it's no big deal. I don't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Those other eyes make a difference.
So let's go back to the beginning, your childhood, because there has to be a moment where you realize you were a people person. Were you always a people person? What was your childhood like?
Number one, I feel like there's no way I can answer that with any authority because I was in me, but I think so. It was always pretty easy for me to make friends and get along with people. And there were certain aspects of just the nature of the the circles we ran in and how my family dynamic was, that I got really good at paying very close attention to what the people around me were maybe feeling and what I thought they wanted from me. And I got pretty good at delivering that.
Yeah.
Which is a great, like, it's served me really well in my life. It's also made it hard for me at times to figure out what, like, who I really am. How would I respond to this if nobody was in the car, right?
I totally get that. It's kind of like you spend your whole life putting out other people's fires. You never pay attention to yours.
Right. And you get good at putting yours on the back burner.
Yeah.
Which is very true for me.
That's crazy you say that, because I just kind of like did that in my own personal life.
Oh, really?
Like, I quit a job that I worked for so long, but it was just like, okay, now I got to start, like, I got to go worry about myself. You know, I got to do what's best for me, not what's best for you.
Yeah.
And
so what did that look like? Like, how did quitting that job mean doing what's best for you?
Dedicating all of my time to doing art, right? Because I'm an artist.
Cool.
Yeah, and so now I just do like the delivery services around here, right?
Nice.
Food delivery.
Yeah.
At night and whenever I can, and whenever I just don't feel like doing art.
Yeah.
You know, because that's like my passion and my dream.
Yeah.
And so I'm putting myself forward instead of someone else. But it's interesting because I'm not saying that those people are like that, not by any means. But when you do that in life, it's so crazy that people instantly realize that you're putting yourself forward and they see you as selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, that's a big narrative in our society and our culture.
Yeah.
Another way to couch it, like, and that obviously I think there's probably a little tension in the culture right now because there's definitely like a me first movement of like self-care and wellness.
Oh man.
And a lot of it I think is great, and I think some of it just doesn't quite resonate with me.
Yeah.
But I think, like everything, there's multiple ways to like couch it or market it, right? Like, either you quit your job so you could do art full time, or you chose to change your career to enable you to build something you really care about.
Yeah, it's the way I saw it is kind of like the I don't know what it's called, but it's an experiment, I guess, where you give you have two people on one track and then four on the other, and you give someone the option to choose which one the train goes to, right? It's what I'm saying is, do you like stay to help one person or move on and try to help another different set of people?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because if I can like boost my ego, right, and my art could become something that helps a bunch of people instead of me helping one person.
Sure. And you hopefully feel more fulfilled, like self-actualized in the process, which also just makes you a better member of society. Like, you're happier and more likely to, you know, be able to have like that internal store of resources to give to your community.
Yeah.
And I mean, I totally know what you mean. And I also think, like, over the years I've observed there are a lot of people that really are self-actualized, just doing whatever job it is and going out on the boat on the weekends. Like, that's great. Like, I have a lot of friends that's what they do and they love it. And there are times when it sounds really great to just like have a job and a paycheck and just do that thing and enjoy your life. But it's just not how my mind works. So I've just got, I have a bunch of things I'm working on and interested in, and to the extent that I'm able to make progress in those, or at least feel like I'm in community pursuing them, for me that's so fulfilling.
Dude, I totally get that. Though my mindset is a little the same but different. For like, not my mindset, but like my belief, I guess you say, is right now in the world we're fucked, you know? We're totally fucked. And so I see people, and you see people like they kind of just turn off the world, right? They don't have social media, they don't have the news, they don't have any of that, which is good.
Okay.
But I'm talking about people that just kind of live their own lives and don't try to help other people. They just stick to their own lane, and I don't think that's a good thing to do, because we're all in this together.
Yeah.
You know, we're all on the floating rock, and we have to work together and be together. And I see people that just kind of close off and work their 9 to 5, and they go home and they watch Netflix and they do stuff that's good for them, but at the same time they never do anything that benefits other people. And I think that right now we have a lot of people that are just so self-centered. I was going on a rant this morning to my friend about greed.
Yeah.
Because that's, to me, that's the biggest problem right
Okay.
now is greed.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, when you say we're fucked, I can't disagree.
Yeah.
But the nature of that is we could spend hours on that. But to be more direct, I think in order to, and this is not me taking anything away from your statement.
No.
I think in order for me to say something like that and feel like good about it,
yeah,
I would have to define how many people and to what degree am I helping them.
Yeah.
Because I think that people have different capacities. A lot of people I think who are just working, like just living the life you describe, probably are really helping their families and maybe supporting, aging loved ones or who knows what, like behind the scenes. And I also know a lot of people who ostensibly live that lifestyle, but give a lot of money away.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I can't tell who those people are by looking, but I spent my youth with much stronger ideas and opinions and more vocal opinions about what's cool and what's not, what's right and what's wrong. And over the years, I've stuck my foot in my mouth and been sort of like on the wrong side of that enough times that now I feel like, God, there's so much I don't know. I mean, there's way more that I don't know about the world and about any given individual than I know. And so as much as I don't disagree with the premise of what you're saying, I think that figuring out who those people are is impossible. And I think there are lots of artists that live in that same world. There are lots of artists who
very true
are like so, maybe passionate about a cause or passionate about their art, but not paying attention to the water they're swimming in or what's happening or how are people responding. Is this being picked up? And I mean, I play music and have done that for a lot of years. And I have friends who've been in bands who are willing to do the work. And I have friends who are songwriters who've been in bands that are like, people just don't get us. They want to blame like, these people are idiots. When in reality, I think you might just not be paying enough attention. It doesn't mean what you're doing is bad, but at some point you either have to adjust your expectations or adjust your behavior, or just say, this is, okay, I'm just always going to be pissed off that people aren't clamoring to my shows or buying my music. And for me, something has to move. I don't want to live in that space where I'm constantly dissatisfied with everything. And it takes me a long time sometimes to like pull my head up and wake up from that. But I want to live a life such that if something's not working, I can either change something or I can change my perspective and say, well, it's definitely not working, but I'm going to keep doing it. I love doing it. I don't care. I'm going to write shitty songs and people can listen or not, but I'm going to keep doing it,
Yeah.
So that's my response.
What was your opinions that you had as a kid, right? That you were talking about the opinions you had that you realized were wrong.
Okay. I just told this story this morning to a buddy. So I moved to Sandpoint in 2001 to help start a church, Cedar Hills Church. And I was the music pastor there. And I was a decent musician, people liked what I did, and I definitely felt very confident also in my sensibilities. Like one thing, I've never really been a fan of the kind of Christian music industry or any of that. It's always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And so when that song, I don't know if you know that song, I Can Only Imagine by Mercy Me. I can only imagine. It was like played all over the place for a long time anyway. Back in the early aughts. And so I hated that song. I didn't like the song. It felt like overly sentimental and like it did nothing for me, and that wasn't enough. I was like, nobody should be listening to this. I can't believe this is total injustice that this band has any notoriety. So one morning, like in between gatherings at the church, like we played a set and we were getting ready to play, and I was talking just like my bandmates or whatever. Somehow that song came up and I'm just like shitting on it, like very confidently and vocally. And I think after the next service, somebody came up to me and was like, "Hey, what's wrong with that song? Like, I like it. Is there something wrong with it? Like, should I be listening?" Like they were talking like theologically or something, right? Is it evil to be listening to the song? I was like, no. I just, explain my point. They're like, okay, well, that's the song that we played at my son's funeral, and it was really meaningful to me. And that sucked.
Yeah.
And it's totally valid and true. And there's lots of songs that I like that even my friends hate, like that I don't listen to at home because it's just so uninteresting to other people.
Yeah.
And I don't think categorically there's any difference. Obviously, at the time, I thought it was a huge categorical difference because one is art and one is dreck, you know? But it's so subjective. And good music really is the music that finds its way into our lives. Like that means something to us, whether it started because it was, you know, had artistic integrity and was breaking new ground, or whether it started because we were in a really vulnerable spot when we first heard it, or just the lyrics are very straight ahead and easy to understand and easy to get into. Like that happens for people differently. And so that, for me, that was a huge turning point of, okay, I am not the authority on what's cool, on what's art, on what is okay to listen to or not. And I definitely thought I was before that.
Yeah, no. That's I feel like a lot of people are like that. I think that's a good thing to put out there in the world for people to hear. I love that. When did you get into music? What are your favorite artists?
Okay, good question. So I got into music. It's a tough question to answer, actually, because I've honestly always sang. So like I grew up in the Christian church. My dad was a youth pastor, and he used to take me to these kids camps where he was a counselor. And at some point, I didn't even realize this until somebody called it out, but I got a reputation as the kid that sang in the bathroom. So evidently I was just always belting it when I was in the bathroom, and it's just, I didn't realize. So that was kind of always a thing. My folks made me take piano lessons for 3 years that I liked playing the piano, but I hated the pressure of the lessons. I hated having to practice stuff that I thought was stupid or that wasn't interesting. And so I finally was able to quit after 3 years, but that foundation, like I could pick my way through the piano, which was fun, and it always came pretty easily to me. And so then the first time I kind of intentionally got into it was when I was 15. A buddy gave me a guitar, showed me like 3 or 4 different chords. And I mean, one of the beauties at that point of like being in the church world is so many songs that are sang in church are like maybe 3 chords. And so I was able to just like start picking it out and playing, and then I did that for several years, just getting comfortable with chords and stuff, and that was kind of the point of no return for me. And from there branched out to like sitting on bass when there was a bass available and nobody could play, and I kind of figuring that out, and then drums and doing that. And so yeah, I've been playing and performing and recording and whatever I can do ever since.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Have you had any success?
I have had a ton of success.
Really?
Very little monetary success. But I've gotten to play with a lot of really talented people. And sometimes that's a blast, and sometimes it's very humbling. I just sat in on like a couple songs with, I don't know if you know Gregory Alan Isaacoff. Anyway, folk artist, spectacular songwriter, just amazing guy, amazing singer, amazing songwriter. So I sat in with him for a couple songs in Spokane at the Bartlett, this cool venue that's no longer there. And it was, I was mortified. I was a consummate enough performer at that point that I knew how to feel like a piece of trash and not show it. So I don't think anybody knew, but I was just like, I was mortified. I wasn't playing what I was hearing in my ear. It wasn't what's on this record. And so there are experiences like that. And then there are experiences like, Saturday night I played with Josh Hedlund. We have a band called Little Wolf here in town. And we played at the Canada and opened for the Shook Twins. And I got to play drums with the Shook Twins for some songs. And it was just a blast. Like everything came together. Rehearsals had been good. Like it was awesome.
What kind of music do you play?
I play all kinds of music. So Little Wolf is very low key, very dark, kind of Elliott Smith-ish vibe maybe. And we just released our first recording and first music video recently, and it's pretty ethereal. It's kind of spooky music, but
I love
spectacular
spooky music.
lyrics. Yeah, check out Little Wolf.
Plug it right now.
All right, littlewolfband.com. Okay. And there's a video on the homepage for Crickets, which is our first single. And Willie Whitty, who's also a local here, made that. Caitlin Shook and Kyle Volkman are the actors. And I'm super proud of it and excited. But the video, I mean, it's very dark, but it's so well done, and it really fits the vibe of the song.
What kind of dark?
Like, I mean, not to give it away, but the overall plot, which is not the same plot as the song, but the overall plot of the video is this couple kind of interacting in very ambiguous ways, and then a scene where she looks like she kills him, and they continue interacting in ambiguous ways. So there's this kind of like, how real is any of this stuff? How is it in her head? Is she engaging with him, you know, regretting her choice? Is she imagining doing this? Who knows?
Yeah.
But Willie did such a spectacular job on it. I'm really stoked. So yeah, at littlewolfband.com, you can check that out.
What do you think of bands like Black Sabbath, right? That have like the satanic media misunderstandings behind them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a classic example of the mass, whatever, the masses.
Yeah.
Not really listening to anything, not really paying attention to the big picture and the context.
Yeah.
That's honestly what I think it is, and I think they did a great job using that to their advantage, like turning that into some great publicity. And a lot of people were super pissed off at them, but they were really vocal about it. They didn't vote with their pocketbooks. They were like, "Stop listening to this," which of course makes a bunch of people say, "Oh, what do I stop listening to? Let me go check that out."
Right, straight up.
Yeah, so it's genius, and I'm a big proponent of there's nothing off limits in art.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it for sure. Like if something offends you or it doesn't move you or whatever, totally fine. It's not for everybody. But the idea of censoring the creation of it does not feel right to me, no matter what it is. I think there probably are, I mean, there are definitely limits there when you get to like snuff and like certain kinds of like porn and sex stuff. I feel like there definitely are other factors that play into that. But in terms of like expressing ideas that are counterculture or just incendiary for the sake of being incendiary, go for it. Great. And you know what's going to happen? People are going to get angry, and they're not going to just not listen to it. They're going to tell everybody not to listen to it and try and get it banned, and then more people are going to listen to it. And you're going to get in the news. So
straight up. Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's my perspective on that. I think make whatever you want, and then I think people should be take a little more self responsibility for engage with what you like, and don't worry about what you don't like. It's fine. You're not going to ever make other people not like it. You're not going to make people not listen to it. You might get it banned, but that doesn't. I mean, we know, especially in the digital age, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So how do you say that and like be a Christian at the same time? Like that sounds mean.
No,
I feel like a lot of Christians, and I'm generalizing here for sure, are not really for what you're saying, and you're pretty on gun ho with it all, you know. And I feel like a lot of, especially in the day, you hear a lot of the media about kind of stuff like this, and most of the time, I'm generalizing, it's Christians that are like what's it called, pitchforking and torching it.
Yeah, totally.
So
I agree with you. I mean, there is. Well, this is a whole nother thing to get into. How much time we got here?
All time in the world.
I don't believe that any of that is in any way contrary to what I think was the important part of Jesus' message.
Yeah. Or
not even important, what I think was the whole part of Jesus' message. I don't know, maybe let's say Christianity has been so kind of conflated and entangled with American culture, and I mean American conservative culture, I would say.
Very true.
And I don't have anything against conservative culture. I don't have anything against conservatives, the liberals, libertarian, whatever. Believe what you want, but I think the entanglement of Christian philosophy and really like the practice of Christianity and political ideals is not only problematic, but anathema to the whole message of what Jesus was saying.
Yeah.
Like, to the point that I'm not afraid to identify myself as a Christian, but I rarely do, because it doesn't mean, that word doesn't mean what it means to me if I say it. So
what does it mean to you? What do you believe? Do you believe gay people are Satan?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
What do you believe?
I would say, like, and using the gay argument as a bellwether or as a emblematic thing, I would say it doesn't matter what my opinion is. My opinion is irrelevant.
I like that.
Like, and I know people that are staunchly opposed to homosexuality and people that are staunchly in favor of it, and some of them you never know because they realize, oh, great, I mean, do what you want. Like, I'm making choices for my life, you make choices for your life, that's fine.
Yeah.
And a lot of them too, on both sides of that argument, say, no, the choices I'm making are absolutely the right choices, and if you're not making them, there's something fucked up about you.
Yeah.
And I just don't think that's true. I don't think that has anything to do with the message of Christ.
Yeah. But
that's not how it's, from my perspective, my experience, it's not how it's generally pitched, at least in America. I haven't been to many international churches recently, so yeah, like, I mean, I'm not affiliated with the church at this point. I don't go anywhere. I don't have like a conventional practice at all, but the person of Jesus is very precious to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean like I don't get pissed off if somebody says Jesus Christ or goddamn or whatever. Like, great.
They're just words.
It's not about that.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's much more incendiary to see, I mean, honestly, again, I don't know who watches this, but I hope I'm not burning any bridges. Like,
right.
I get much more up in arms about like a Christian music industry, for example, or Christian movie industry, because I feel like that's trading on trading on the name of Jesus to sell shit.
Yeah.
And it's such a trivial, like, it's such a bastardization of what the whole message is about.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about knowing who you should have do your plumbing because they have a Jesus fish. It's about it's about learning how to love people selflessly and live outside yourself and be willing to like do great things and have nobody give a shit, or even people be angry about it, but you're doing what you know is right because it's right. It's what you feel personally like convicted about.
Yeah.
I honestly, I just think that's as good as it gets from a philosophical perspective, is me doing what I think is right in this moment, because that changes too.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's very true. I think that is totally the message. I don't know why our culture is getting so miscombobulated, you know? It's getting so wild out there in the world.
It is, and I don't think it's a Christian thing at all.
It's not a Christian thing.
I think it's easy.
It's everything.
It's a subgroup that is vocal, so it's easy. They're an easy bellwether for that. But I think just most of us feel like what we believe is the right thing to believe, and what we think is the way it is.
Well, it's like Hitler didn't think he was doing anything wrong.
Totally.
You know, and
absolutely,
he wasn't the best of people.
I would completely agree with that. And that's an example where I would readily say, yeah, this is not right. I mean, who knows, right? I'm obviously talking out my ass right now, but I would like to think I would be a person that would be making decisions to subvert that personally.
Yeah.
But I still I just think that trying to tell people that they're wrong is just ineffectual, in my opinion.
It's a waste of time.
That's how
time
it feels to me. That's how it's always been for me. People aren't listening to somebody else to hear they're right. People definitely will take in new information, right? Like, and it's not always logical information. Sometimes it's an experience or a conversation that had nothing to do with but somehow comes around to that in their mind.
Not trying to dog on you at all, but I will talk to people, and we're talking about like lasagna, and people bring it all the way to Jesus, and it's like, we're just talking about lasagna. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's with everything. I don't know. A lot of people, it's not just Christianity.
Right.
It's a lot of different cultures that are like that.
Yeah. Maybe the ticket, this is how I've articulated it for myself over the years, is if my agenda or my message is a higher priority than whatever's happening. So like if my message in my music is a higher priority than just making good music.
Yeah.
Or if my message in a conversation is a higher priority than like connecting with you, or my message at work, in my job is a higher priority than giving great service and the thing I'm charging people for, it just feels like a misalignment to me. And it feels like if somebody agrees with you, like if you go off on a rant to somebody that agrees, of course they're going to be like, yeah, absolutely, I'm glad you're standing up for this. And if you go off on a rant to somebody that doesn't agree, it's probably going to further solidify their perspective, right? Like very rarely are people swayed by that kind of behavior.
Yeah. It's pretty much like what you believe, that's it. It's very rare that people are just, a Satanist becomes a Christian and a Christian becomes a Satanist.
Right. But those are the stories that are trumpeted. At least when I was growing up, those are the stories that people would tell as like these wins, these like success stories of Jesus can save and change anybody. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't disagree with that statement at all. But I think setting that up as like, okay, this is what we should be striving for, is the same as setting up like high-powered CEOs who have dropped out of college and made amazing things and become super rich and changed the world. That's great. But for the average person, college probably isn't a bad idea. I didn't finish college, partially because my perspective was really like, you can't learn anything in college. You can't learn in the real world. That's totally true, but you've got to be an autodidact. You've got to be really willing to push for it. You have to have some sort of vision of clarity to pursue it. And a lot of us really don't have that focus, don't have that energy, don't have that drive. So go to college and get a degree and learn what you can, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, college totally makes it a lot easier. I'd say like college is to pay for the comfort of it, right? You every day you get to learn something new. You don't have to go out of your way. All you gotta do is just go to class. Yeah. You'll learn, and you gotta apply yourself. But everything's kind of set up for you to learn this. And like I can learn I go on YouTube and type in painting, and it's like 5 easy tricks to paint. And there's all this shit out there and like stuff to pay for too, Skillshare and all that. So I can learn everything I really need to know through the power of the internet.
Totally.
Totally. I was thinking about that today. I was thinking like, if someone would ask me like, what college did you go to, or who's your mentor, I'd be like, everyone, because the internet. Like, I really do think like if you have the power and not the power, but like the drive and the motivation to learn something, you totally can with just the internet. And that's what college is for people who can't like have trouble going out of their way to learn something. So you pay for the comfort of having that, and you pay for the comfort of not going out of your way to meet people and make connections, right?
Yeah, the networking part is huge. I agree.
And like that's like where at Sandpoint it sucks, you know. It's
a little tricky. You have to work harder. Yeah. And you have to connect with people remotely.
Well, like I'm sure you can relate to this since you make like your song, right? Like how like you're at the Panda. I don't know. I was going to go to that, but I didn't because I got a little busy. But
that happens.
How many older people were in that audience?
A lot. Yeah, I mean a lot of like it was a wide variety of people.
Like.
Sorry, I don't know what point you're making.
No, the point I'm making,
wide variety.
I guess it's more for me, I guess I'd say. It's because, like, I like making dark art, right? Like, I like painting, like, scary things. Okay. And in Sandpoint, there's not a whole lot of people that like scary things.
I would absolutely agree with that.
There's a lot of, people that are Bible holders, I guess you could say, not in a mean way. But it's just, like, that's not the art, that's not the point I'm trying to make is for something like, for me to be here, I have to be harder and do harder to find other people.
You have to be very intentional about finding your tribe.
Yeah.
Because that's not the mainstream. I agree with that. And that's been a challenge for me being in Sandpoint too. Like I have a good tribe now, but for years, I definitely didn't feel like I did. And our family, we moved to Spokane for a year because we had a tribe there and we tried it and it wasn't a good fit for the kids, so we came back, which is great. But I found my tribe here. I do think that just to not tweak your statement, but to add my perspective to it a little bit. Like Little Wolf, the vibe is dark. A lot of the imagery is dark. It's low key. It's not music that you put on at a party. That's how I would couch it.
Yeah.
But I mean, the most common comment that I've gotten since Saturday about that set was, "You left me in tears."
Left me in tears. I love it.
It is moving, and I think that's the beauty of art is, or maybe one of the challenges as an artist is to create something and then let it be what it's going to be, and not put that art in a box. And that's really for your own sake. I mean, you can put it in a box and people will take it out. But
yeah,
Wilco has this song called "What Light," and there's a verse that's basically like, I can't say the lyrics verbatim right now, but it's basically like, you created this. Man, I'm so mad I can't think of it. Basically, like, you created this, now it doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the world.
It's true.
And you can struggle with that all you like. It's not wrong or right, but that's what it is. So basically, the message is like, okay, so deal with that. Get okay with the fact that this may or may not mean to the world what it means to you, and let people put their experience on it and let it seep into their lives in the way it needs to. You know,
that's very true. When you do put it out there, it definitely becomes something that's not.
Yeah.
That is totally. And I like what you're saying. I think the goal of art, and not one of the goals of art, is to have someone that is stuck in their ways, or have a very narrow mindset about something, or not be able to have empathy towards something,
okay,
and then create art. At least I would say, like, our goal with art, I would say, because, like, people like to paint trees, and that's, like, doesn't really do a whole lot other than be pretty, really cool. Like, when you create, like, something dark and has, like, meaning behind it, and they see that, they think of it in a whole different mindset they've never even considered.
okay,
And
like, to be evocative on some level, or like to make people feel something.
Yeah, totally. Just to make people feel something.
Yeah.
Spark those emotions.
I agree. I would just challenge that and say, some people are really touched by trees.
Yeah.
I share your sensibility. I mean, it was one of the challenges for me with the arts culture in Sandpoint. Probably people talked about it's an arts community, and I have a lot of friends that are very creative and prolific in doing what they do, but it didn't necessarily connect with me, and I wasn't inspired by it. Doesn't mean it's not good, and I know a lot of people that are inspired by it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, not saying you're wrong, but just like, I would challenge that and say that
Totally.
the people that are creating trees with all their heart
Mm-hmm.
are putting something out in the world that's meaningful to somebody.
Totally, 100%.
And you can create dark stuff or banal stuff without feeling, and that feels like, to me it feels like a waste of time. There's probably some value there for the people that are creating it, but the world is so big,
Mm-hmm.
and people are so different.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just constantly surprised by new things that I like, even new paradigms that are opened up about how people see the world, how they think, how they make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And so the longer I live, the fewer strong statements I'm even willing to make.
What's the most recent thing you've been shocked by? Utterly just like, damn, that's crazy,
Yeah, that's a good question.
And how old are you?
How old do you think I am?
I don't know.
I'm 42.
42?
Yeah.
Dude, it must be like the small town air. Like, I meet a lot of 40-year-olds and they look young. Even 50-year-olds. Like, you don't look old at all. You look like 30s.
Even
like,
the gray in the beard doesn't give it away?
No, I mean, I guess I didn't even notice that.
I'm sitting behind the pop filters.
Yeah.
No, it's great. Yeah. Nothing's coming to mind for a recent kind of mind blower.
Mm-hmm.
I do have. I don't have a story. I can't think of a particular story because it's pretty commonplace. But in the tech scene, like in doing heavy tech services,
Yeah.
I find myself often surprised at people's lack of, even from my perspective, rudimentary understanding of the things they're doing or using.
Mm-hmm.
And
How so?
the email thing I mentioned earlier in a very vague way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a call I will get. They're like, oh, my email's not working. I can't get my email, whatever, something about that, or my internet's not working.
Mm-hmm.
And and then we'll have a conversation about, okay, like, how are you accessing? Are you accessing Chrome or Safari? I don't know. I push the internet. Okay, or the email. Like, are you accessing in a browser or in an app? Like,
I don't know.
They don't have a concept of that, which again is totally fine. And I really think tech should, as much as possible, just get out of the way. So I'm not trying to educate those people on that. I just want to make it work and make it as smooth as possible for them to be able to communicate with the people they need to communicate with. But it surprises me because I am naturally pretty curious.
Yeah.
And so, it's just, it just surprises me, that's all.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I talk to people and I'm just like, what are you doing? You know, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
What are you thinking? You know?
But they understand things that I, like,
True.
nuances in, like, so many people around. This is one of my, like, kind of secret insecurities that won't be secret anymore.
Okay.
I can't really tell trees apart. Like, I just don't know. I can tell a needle from a leaf.
Yeah.
But I can't tell a fir from a pine. I can't, like, I probably can identify an oak leaf. But I'm just so, it just doesn't make sense to me. And I was a Royal Ranger, which is like a even more parochial Boy Scouts when I was a kid. So we went through this and learned different kinds of bark and what you can eat and what you can't. And I can make a fire, like, great, and I can tie knots, but it just doesn't, I don't get it.
Yeah.
And I have friends that can tell just, like, from a cut piece of, oh, that's such and such. Oh, it's probably from around here because this thing. Like, I just don't know that, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
And I'm curious about it, but I mean, clearly my comment about being a naturally curious person has limits. 'Cause I'm curious, but not enough to go, like, really study and figure it out, because those resources are out there. So so the tech thing, as much as it's surprising to me, it's probably equally surprising to people that they're like, how can you not tell? It's so obvious. Like, it looked totally, and when they point it out, oh yeah, okay, I can see that. But it just doesn't stick with me.
Yeah, everyone has their own little things, you know?
Yeah,
like, my example of your tree things is, I wouldn't say, like, I'm really, like, insecure about it. I just, like, I don't really care about it, I guess I'd say. Of course I have insecurities, I'm not saying I don't, but, like, cars, I don't know shit about cars. I don't know, and I don't care, and I have a bunch of friends, and, like, not a bunch of friends, but, like, I have friends, and, like, they just love cars, and that's all they talk about. I'm just like, it's just Charlie Brown, the teacher, you know, like, oh, can we, like, this has been a 20-minute conversation, can we please move on to something else, you know?
Yeah, totally.
I gotta ask you this, because we were talking about tech, and I'm curious on just your opinion. What do you think of Bitcoin?
I think that Bitcoin is a really strong V1 of a next phase of currency, like a value exchange. I think the concept is spectacular. I think it might be sustainable. I don't know. I mean, I don't know enough about the tech at scale and what happens if everybody's really trying to use it on a regular basis. I have a feeling that it's on the core Bitcoin would hit limitations pretty quick, but there are lots of offshoots, lots of parachains and subchains, and obviously lots of other currencies that show promise in those ways. So I think it's going to be a V1, but I think it's probably going to maintain its value and continue growing. That's one of the projects I'm working on with a buddy is we're starting an NFT agency, or we've started an NFT agency, and it's totally crypto-centric. Do you know what NFTs are?
I do. I don't like them.
Okay, that's fair. I'd love to hear. Tell me why.
So I don't like NFTs. Maybe because I don't understand it completely. So I was talking to my friend about this today too. So the reason I don't like NFTs is in Bitcoin, I'm not saying I don't like them. I understand to an extent the technology behind it. My biggest problem with it all is the environmental cause that it has. It's like, I feel like we just keep just stepping backwards. You know, it's like the NFTs, like you have to have giant computers that run servers, and it costs so much energy, and it's like we're just going backwards, guys. Like and to me the NFTs it's being used poorly, with hustle culture, and it's like, bro, if you don't have the freaking super awesome, mega cool NFT, you're a loser, and you need to get your stuff together. And that's not like, how is that beneficial in any way whatsoever?
Yeah. It's a very fair criticism, especially the environmental piece. I don't have data on that, and I don't have data on the environmental cost of extracting precious metals, minting those things, distributing them throughout the country, picking them up, destroying them, disposing of that. I'm not saying they're equal or one's greater or worse. I really don't know. But it's part of why I think of crypto right now as a very infantile, like a very early, very nascent technology. Because I don't think any of what we're seeing today, or very little bit of what we're seeing today, is going to be around in 20 years.
Okay.
But I think...
Like Bitcoin? And NFTs?
Bitcoin. I mean, the concepts, I think, will be there.
Yeah.
Sort of like, if you think... How old are you?
I'm 20.
Okay. So... You don't remember directly, but you've read about like the internet bubble of the early 2000s. Anyway, basically what happened was
I maybe like sorry to interrupt you, but maybe
fine.
a thing I think I understand what you're saying is maybe like the crash of video games, right? Where like it was super big and then it just depleted and it was not a thing anymore, just a fad.
Was that 2008 when that happened?
That was back in like the 90s. Maybe we're thinking.
Okay.
You keep
going. Are you talking about console games?
I'm just like back in like the 90s, right, or the 80s,
or
70s, right, where like the Atari came out and it was cool and everyone liked it, and then everyone was like, this is kind of stupid and this is a waste of money, and then like all of them, like a bunch of like them weren't being sold, and like the whole video game market pretty much crashed.
I see what you're saying.
And then Nintendo came in and saved it.
Yeah.
I thought that was like kind of where you're trying to get me to understand, but
it's not. It's a great point. I think the paradigm is a little bit different. I think that was.
Oh, please don't do that. Because you're a tech savvy guy, that my tech starts to not work when it's you.
Because it has the opposite effect with you.
Like when I have just normal Joes, it works fine. You know. But it just must be what you were saying, right?
It's my dark magic, I guess, yeah.
Well, like at the very beginning, like you were saying, like...
Usually when I get into the room, stuff starts to work, but this time I had the opposite effect.
Yeah, that's what you were saying.
Dark magic, I guess, yeah.
So, of course, it has to be like, all right, so hopefully it works. Continue what you were saying.
So I was just going to, like, talking about, the internet crash. A lot of that didn't survive. The internet became what it is today. NFTs are one small application of blockchain. Blockchain is really the underlying tech that's interesting. And I heard you mention the gaming crash. Can I infer from that you're a gamer?
I mean, not a huge gamer, but I was a huge gamer nerd in high school. Okay. Not as much as I used to be, but
you dig games. They've got a special place in your heart.
For sure.
So you played any blockchain-based games?
I mean, I feel like this is a trick question. I feel like I'm going to say no, but then you're going to tell me some.
I'm not going to tell you any, but I am going to tell you that games are moving that way.
Okay.
And so I don't know if it's the latest, but a new standard. So this is going to get super good. You can flash a geek warning on the screen. ERC-20 is the standard that is like coins, like Bitcoin and Ethereum and all those. ERC, I think it's 721 is the standard NFT like token type. And the only difference is 20, you can have a bunch of them, they're all exchangeable. 721 is unique. There's only one instance of it, you can't interchange them. Now there's an 1155, which is a new standard that combines multiple types. So it combines fungible, non-fungible, and semi-fungible tokens. And this is driven by the gaming industry because at its heart, blockchain is a distributed computing infrastructure that allows for better uptime, theoretically better performance. If you have, if you can get all the computing, all the underlying tech right, like you have better performance because you have lots of machines doing similar work. So the new internet is going to be built on blockchain. There will be some differences, but it has a lot of implications around identity. So if you have an identity that is an NFT, then that can be verified, and you can really know that this person is this. You can verify.
It's kind of like your IP.
Kind of, but an IP is really easy to fake.
Yeah.
And can be abstracted very easily, whereas an NFT is written on a given blockchain, is verified based on the either proof of stake or proof of work that's written into that chain, and then stored on all these other computers. Like the standard verifies, the tech verifies that this block is accurate, is not fraudulent, is a good transaction.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like anything else, I'm sure at some point people will figure out how to spoof that, of course. But right now, it's, I think, from what I know, the best tech we have to verify identity on the internet. So like, anyway, all that to say that an NFT, as it's currently understood in culture as a piece of digital art, that's probably something drawn really quickly and thrown up there to make $1 million, is a very rudimentary and quickly disappearing paradigm.
Yeah, it's kind of like that is being, it's like this, the good technology of it is being presented in a bad way because it's being given to the wrong hands.
Well, it's not, but that's the thing, it's open, like anybody can get it. So of course, people that are quick moving, savvy, have resources are going to be, and are early adopters, are going to be out there. So I hear what you're saying, and from an altruistic kind of like, if the world was perfect perspective, I totally agree. I also think like without these guys that are doing these things that kind of on the surface appear usurious and like hustle culture, not saying that they aren't, but they're still pushing the tech forward.
Well, yeah.
Like, so I mean, one example is like the market is saturated now. Like when CryptoPunks came out, there was nothing else you could get. It was unique, it was scarce, and it was interesting. And now there's 1,000 CryptoPunk copies and just all kinds of stuff happen. I mean, there's other great projects too, right? But you have to search them out. You have to pay attention to the team behind it because it could just be crap. And
well, like a part of like it being in the wrong hands with greedy people and hustle culture is that it is making it more understood and accessible to simpletons. Right, I've heard people say that word before. Because like my biggest concern, not my biggest concern, but like an argument, and it's not a very good argument when you think of iPhones and the internet. But it's like, to me, it's like, okay, so how do you, everything you just said, how do you convince my 7-year-old grandma to use Bitcoin, right? If that's where the world's going, how do you convince Graham to get a 70 XXX computer, whatever, and invest in Bitcoin? You can't.
And the good news is she doesn't have to. Just like she doesn't have to use Venmo, or Instagram, Facebook, email. She doesn't have to use email. Like the world is still going to continue turning without these things, and so I think the short answer is you don't have to. And if she's not interested, great. There's no reason for her to get into it because, at least at this point, and hopefully for a long time in the future, we have that option. Like you can still use cash. You can use cash, or you can Venmo, or you can PayPal, or you can give an IOU, or you can do barter, or you can do Bitcoin. Like there's a lot of ways that people are creative and figure out how to get things done. But there will be certain things that are enabled by that. So like, it's just
a problem. Another thing, a problem that I have, I guess, with it, like I'm not like trying to make you like the spokesman of
I'm
Bitcoin,
certainly not that.
But it's definitely going to be
not far from an expert.
You're just like the one I'm talking to about it, you know. The biggest loophole, I guess you could say, is like people are praising Bitcoin and making it to be this big thing, but they're investing American dollars and like yen, whatever. They're investing other currencies into Bitcoin to just take it out and then get that currency back. So
some are, but not everybody.
What's the point of that?
Well, two things. One, there are a lot of people that are just investing and holding. Two, it's still the easiest way to exchange value is with hard currency. So even though I would say Bitcoin has value, has proven it has value, and I think that value will continue to grow, its utility is limited based on infrastructure, based on adoption, all these different things. So of course, like people who want liquidity in that money are probably going to have to exchange it into some more commonly accepted currency. And even like that happens with different cryptocurrencies, like, little different junk coins or just like meme coins that come up. You can make a lot of money if you happen to get in when it's low, right before everybody's like, whoa, Dogecoin, or whoa, GameStop. I mean, it's the same as the stock market, right?
Yeah.
The value is based on what people will pay for it. And if you happen to get it at the right time, that value can increase dramatically. You can sell, and then you have more fungible currency that you can either put into more blockchain or your house or give to your kids or buy food. It's just a more exchangeable currency.
Do you think it's going to take over? I guess you kind of said it wasn't going to do that.
What do you take over? What?
Take over the world, because I feel like a lot of people talk like that. It's like, oh, you don't invest in Bitcoin, you're going to be sorry one day. Like yes, but like that's it. Just goes back to like what I was saying. Is like,
yeah,
like I know a bunch of people that, not a bunch, like there's just people out there that invest in Bitcoin and then just get the money back in America. And so like, what was the point? Like
because it may have multiplied. It's the same, but do you walk around being sorry that you didn't invest in Apple?
That's true.
I don't know if you do.
I mean, me and my friend were talking about this morning, like on the phone, like this is so interesting. Like that's why we're talking about it, because like I was talking to him about you, because I was like, yeah, if I went back in time and invested in Bitcoin, I would have. But that's just because I want the money. Like I don't care about Bitcoin, right? And like,
but that's fine.
Yeah.
Because the thing that Bitcoin offers, from my perspective, is a currency that is fungible, that's digital, so doesn't require physical transfer of goods, which means I can pay anyone all over the world. I can send money.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, it's totally cool. You can send money for way cheaper. You can send crypto for it costs you much less to transfer crypto, like to especially certain countries where getting a wire transfer or a bank transfer is expensive and difficult and might be hijacked along the way because security's not great. Taxed, all those things. And Bitcoin will be taxed. I mean, there's gonna become a system where crypto is taxed. I don't know how close we are, but unless the government completely collapses, there will be some way that the government extracts value about that once it becomes a more commonly exchanged currency. But I would say, I mean, I think it's good to invest in and hold, but I think it's also very reasonable to say, oh, Bitcoin's low right now, I'm going to buy some because I think it's probably going to go up, and then I'm going to pull it out and fix my car or whatever. Like that seems totally, it's the same as investing in the stock market. If there's a company that you're like, oh, this is a great idea, I think it's going to go somewhere.
So where do you think the future of this all, like where's the future? 50 years, what does crypto become? In your opinion, at least.
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah. I mean, I think in 50 years, some form of blockchain technology is driving our digital world. I think probably a lot of, if not the majority of value exchange happens digitally. And
do you think we have microchips in our hand?
I don't know. I hope not. I don't want a microchip.
My Bitcoin's right here.
Yeah.
And buy
I mean, I wouldn't put it past us, but maybe a bracelet, maybe something less invasive. But like, I mean, if you think about it, our phones have already become that for many of us.
Oh, totally. Apple Pay.
Yeah, Apple Pay, and it's your identity. Like, there's lots of apps and services that I either have to Face ID to log in on my phone, or even enter a code from my phone into the internet to verify my identity.
Sure.
And identity verification is it's one of the biggest problems in the digital world because it's easy to spoof identity. So blockchain is one more layer on that. That's a more secure layer than what we currently have. And so because of that, I think the currency is only one application for it. I think there's a ton more that I think we're going to keep seeing. I think that the NFT art world as it is today is, I mean, even as we're the way that we're discussing it is not even really how it is today. There's way more utility to coins. And so, like, for a shameless plug, like this NFT agency, nfta.io, are one of the projects we're getting ready to launch is called PlayersGulid, and it's a collection of AD&D characters. Do you ever play Dungeons and Dragons? So there's a table game version where it's all paper and pencil. You can use these characters there, but there's also a computer RPG version. Came out in '88, and a lot of people my age have very fond memories of playing that. Like, it was like text driven. You have to like type what you want your character to do. You see these very crude animations of fight scenes and stuff like that. But it was cool and we loved it. So what we've created is a collection of characters based on that game with unique imagery, assets, like they have certain weapons and certain hit points and potions and all that stuff. And so that's the collection of NFTs we're going to release that you can then take and play AD&D with this character, or you can play D&D with this character. Mm-hmm. It's still like the value is just like any art, really just like almost anything. The value is exactly what people are willing to pay for it. And to the extent that it's something that people love or it's part of their hearts, the value is probably higher. It's why Netflix keeps raising their rates, because clearly people love it. Yeah, people want it. And so like, I think that, and again, we're still in this very nascent space, but like something that has some utility to it other than you're going to get rich, that's where we're going. Because the reality is not many people, like probably a very small percentage now of people who are putting out NFTs are getting rich, because so many people are putting them out. Mm-hmm. But there's still a lot of people are interested in it. There's still a lot of money moving in that space. And this is the like, libertarian, whatever, like the make my own decisions thing. Like I hear the environmental critiques and the hustler culture critiques. I hear that and it resonates with me. And I also feel like I would love to feel more financially secure. I would love to like, just be able to get whatever we need for my family, remodel our kitchen, whatever. And I don't feel conflicted about trying to get some of the money that people are spending in that, like that medium right now is hot. So great. I don't know if that happened when oil paint first came out or whatever, but like ultimately it's just a new medium. There are unique aspects to that medium, just like there were in oil or in graphic design when it first came out, right? It's not necessarily better or worse, but it's definitely different.
Yeah. One final question on the crypto.
Yeah.
Who invented the Bitcoin? Who was it?
Satoshi. Can't say his last name.
I thought no one knew. I thought that was the whole thing.
It's maybe a fictional person. Like it's not necessarily a real person, but there is a name to it.
Okay.
And I can't say his last name.
But like no one knows like if that's actually him. It's
Absolutely.
just like the username is that. Yeah. There's on a physical picture of him.
It's the nom de plume, yeah.
So do you think it was aliens?
I don't know. That's kind of fun.
What do you think? Do you think aliens are real?
Yeah, I think probably.
What do you think they're up to right now?
Probably watching this.
Uh-huh.
They're probably hanging on every word we're saying.
Really?
That would be my guess.
Because like I don't know, I've heard people like give crazy conspiracy for the Bitcoins, aliens, and China, and the government, and all that crazy stuff.
All good options.
Are there any conspiracy theories that you think are true? Or do you just have any wacky stories, I guess?
As far as conspiracy theories, this is going to sound like a total cop-out, but for the most part, I feel like, a lot of them could be true, and cool, whatever. Yeah. Like, that's fine. It's a bummer if that's the case, if we're being manipulated, but we're also being manipulated in all kinds of ways that we're fully aware of, and that doesn't change our behavior. So the idea of like being mad about some of them and not mad about like how great people are at marketing these days, and that, like, it's true. It just feels disingenuous to me, so it's hard for me to get really hot about conspiracy theories. Yeah. So all that to say, I'm sure a lot of them are true. I'm sure a lot of them are false. I don't know which is which, but it's fun to talk about, and like the aliens thing is fun. I think it's much more likely that there's other intelligent life in the universe that there's not. But I haven't seen it. Nobody that I know directly and has credibility with me has seen it. So all I have are stories to read, and that's great. It's fun. Yeah.
What about Jesus and aliens?
Are they buddies, you mean?
Like not a lot of Christians like the idea of aliens because it's not in the Bible.
It's true.
You're very open-minded. I love it.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit that's not in the Bible. The Bible doesn't say anything about Disney movies, but Christians got really angry about them for a while.
That's so true.
I also, this is my personal belief, which is not common in the Christian world, but I think that the Bible was like probably more, I mean, I don't think it should be controversial, but anyway, it was written in a in an ancient culture that saw these things very differently from us.
Very true.
So allegory was a very common way to communicate truth. So I think that a lot of the Bible is metaphorical, allegorical, is instructive and very true, but not in necessarily a literal way.
Yeah.
In the same way that I don't know that Hansel and Gretel existed and went out and got eaten by a witch, but there's a moral to that story. I don't know. I don't think there was ever a rabbit and a turtle that raced, and the rabbit was like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna chill out." But there's a message there that is true.
Very
it's
true.
Important.
It's not about morals and message. That's totally what the Bible is. But it's also like with the Declaration of Independence. It's like when they wrote that, the country was so different back then. So different.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not supposed to take, like, at least in my opinion, it's like, when it comes to the declarations, like, not everything is just verbatim, and this is what it is for the rest of eternity. Like, we're allowed to change things about it as we grow as people. When they wrote that, there wasn't even, like, 100,000 people living in the colonies.
Yeah.
And now there's so much, and the world's so different. It's so crazy that laws never get changed or anything, you know, because we're just so stuck on our core beliefs, you know, and not willing to change and open up our minds to other ideas. So, like, when you tell me about, like, to toot my horn, like, you tell me about Bitcoin and NFTs, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. I should look into it, and I should think about other things, you know. And not a lot of people are like that. It's just, nope, I'm right, you're wrong. Bitcoin's Satan. He's not real. You know, I'm not investing in the Bitcoin.
Yeah. And when there's some moral imperative tied to it, it's a lot harder to.
Very true.
It's a lot harder to let that be flexible,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is part, like you say, with the founding documents of our country. I think one of the beauties of it is there are mechanisms within it to change it. Like that was a specific part of it. It's like, yeah, this probably isn't going to work forever. So here's how you change it when you need to.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as like I'm fatigued to the point that I've kind of like disconnected from politics, like I do my best not to have an opinion on anything because I don't want to fight about it.
Yeah.
I also think that this is the beauty of America is we have to fight about this stuff because these are really important. There are questions that have wide implications. And if we just all were like, I don't know, what you want to do? Well, I don't know. Let's do it.
Yeah.
That's not right either. So it takes people that are impassioned and knowledgeable and have these strong opinions. I just don't happen to be one of them in the political sphere. And
neither do I.
So
I couldn't tell you what I was, conservative, liberal. I couldn't tell you because it doesn't matter. It's such bullshit. Like, it does matter, but like.
But the labels are very simplistic. Yeah.
Like what we're gonna get into now is the deep stuff, right?
Okay.
So like what matters is that one day we die, you know, and all we have is here right now. And so let me ask you the podcast questions.
Okay.
So why do you think we were born?
Why do I think we were born?
What do you think? Oh, so it's two-layer question. Why do you think we were born? And what do you think is before birth?
Okay. I gotta write them down because I'm definitely gonna lose my train of thought several times.
No worries.
Why were we born? What's before birth? Well, my first instinct is definitely a cop-out answer, but I'm gonna try to be more creative. It's really what I think, but
well, that's the whole point of the episode. It's not an argument. It's not or not an argument.
And I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's not about whether or not we. This is what I was supposed to say before we started recording. I didn't. It's just all about you. This episode's all about you. It's not about me at all. Like, I'll share my opinions and thoughts, but it's all about you and what you believe in. So if you are whatever you believe in, that's what you're going to say. Don't change what you believe.
Okay. I mean, I wasn't going to change what I believe, but I was going to try and come up with something that was more definitive. Why were we born? I think, honestly, the best answer I could give is to learn to enjoy this, to live this life and learn to love, not in a romantic way, or I mean, maybe, but not that. Like, learn to.
Well, there's more kind of
love
loves.
People. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I'm not just saying like born to like live this life and get married. That's not what I'm saying.
Totally.
I'm saying like to experience the fullness of this life.
Mm-hmm.
And from my perspective and what I know and what I don't know, that's part of why I'm such a fan of Jesus, is because I feel like in his life, in the essence of it, was laid out a really great roadmap of how to do that. And I just haven't found a better one yet. Maybe it's out there, but so I think that's why we were born. What's before birth? I don't know, and I kind of don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I feel the same way about the afterlife. Like I don't have any, like I would love to believe that there's a literal heaven and that it's as described in stories and it's going to be paradise. I mean, I'm not opposed to that idea. It very well may be true. But I also really think that there's a lot of strong evidence in a more kind of Jewish reading of the Bible that heaven, as described in the Bible, is about like bringing heaven on earth. So like treating people, like building that world here.
Yeah.
So doing our best to remove the things that are hindering that like paradise now. And so I don't know what's after death, and I don't know what's before we were born. And yeah, like I said, I kind of don't care. I really want to try to do my best to maximize, like you said, like maximize right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any control about what happens to me after I don't think I do, other than doing my best right now. A lot of people would disagree. Probably most of my Christian friends and brothers and sisters would disagree with that, but
it's almost like you need a different name than your religion. I feel like you definitely need like just me, my boy Jesus. You know?
Well, it's when I was on staff at Cedar Hills, we were trying to do that, so we started using the term Christ follower.
Yeah.
But it ultimately just becomes synonymous.
Sounds a little like a Satanist.
Oh,
But like,
interesting.
you should listen to Satanists, because I'm using them in a bad light in this episode. But the guy I interviewed, he tells what he believes in, at least his version of Satanist is not what you think at all.
Totally.
So,
well, and I've read some of that stuff, and it's fascinating. It's so different from how Satanists are portrayed.
Yep. Obviously, there are some out there that are like the portray.
Of course.
But like
it's a big wide world. Yeah.
Like that guy I was talking to, he's super cool. Like he doesn't even believe in Satan. You know,
yeah.
Like Satan's not real, and neither is, in his opinion, like neither is Jesus. You know, it's something like when it comes to me, I'm more spiritual.
Okay.
I definitely think that there is birth and death for a reason. Like to me, like
tell me your answers to these. I want to know.
To me, I think there is something before birth. What is that? I don't know. But for me, like I just have weird memories that I can't attribute to anything. That could totally be as a baby not understanding the world, right? And just making things up, and that's probably what it is. But I would like to believe that I definitely believe in this, that there's a point to all this. Like, it's just so fucking weird, dude. It's so weird. Like, here, right now, you and me talking to each other in this room, sitting here on a rock in space, floating in nothingness.
Yeah.
And we're conscious of it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Consciousness is so crazy. Like, I totally just like freak out all the time about like just the meaning of consciousness and that existence and experience, and that we're here right now and this is happening. And so when I talk to people and they're like, yeah, it's nothing. It's like, what? How do you believe that it's just nothing? Right? Like, you don't think that there's a reason for this, for all of this, whether you want to, whatever you choose to believe. It's like, the fact that there's just nothing is crazy to me. That's just what I believe. I believe that there's stuff after death. I don't know what it is. I don't necessarily believe in heaven. My opinion is, I think heaven is somewhat of a human construction, because I haven't read the Bible by any means, and I've barely gone to church. And so when I feel like a lot of people kind of like, they give what humans want, right? Oh, I want the best things. I want the brand new cars and all that stuff, and God's gonna give it to me.
Prosperity gospel kind of thing. Like, yeah, totally.
But like, that's just human desire.
Yeah.
I kind of, as I get older, I lean more towards spirituality and no overarching God. More of like just the power of you and intuition and yourself. And I think that after death, you kind of can do, I don't know. It's not nothing though. I believe that it's not nothing. But I think heaven and hell are human constructs.
Yeah.
Right? Because heaven is just, or hell is just fear. That's just it. Everything about hell is just fear and what we don't like. And heaven is everything we do like.
Yeah.
And like, to me, like, that's just pure human need and want and desire right there. So I think death has to be something that is completely out of humans' realm of ego, right? It has nothing to do with the ego and what I desire and what I want. It's more of just the fact of whatever the fuck this is, whatever consciousness is. It's so crazy. It's weird. It's wacky.
Well, isn't it interesting that the concepts of heaven and hell are so, like, emblematic of human, like, just general pinnacle human desires and fears?
Exactly.
Which seems to suggest that they're allegorical to me. Like, it's not, it's everything great and everything horrible. Okay, cool. So maybe it's literal, but to me it seems more likely that there's a bigger story in there somewhere.
Yeah. I totally agree. It's to me, it's like a book of morals and how to be a good person. Because you can take the Bible and those beliefs, and you can stretch it and pull it, and then eventually you come up with Buddhism, with karma. If you're a bad person, oh, well, bad shit's gonna happen to you, right? After death, it's not gonna be the best. You're gonna get reincarnated to something shitty because you were a bad person, right? Yeah. And then you can take that and stretch that, mold that, and then you get whatever Hindus believe in, and then you take that, stretch that, and then Satanists, and it's all over the board. We all have this general understanding of, to be a good person, good things happen. To be a bad person, bad things happen.
There's like common archetypes for sure.
Yeah.
But I do think, and I honestly, have you ever heard of Rob Bell?
Mm-mm.
He has a great podcast that has turned me, especially his earlier stuff. He was a pastor and got basically kicked out, whatever. But has really opened my mind, like has given a lot of language to stuff that I hadn't sat right. So one of the concepts is the idea of, like, are you familiar with, in the Bible, the story basically is like humans couldn't have a relationship with God because they were sinful, so they always had to sacrifice things, and then Jesus came and he died, and now we don't have to sacrifice things, now we just have to accept that he did that. And so inherent in that, there's a couple ways to look at it. One is literally, like, that happened, that was specifically literal. Another paradigm would be that was the end of redemptive violence. Like, human culture had always been about redemptive violence, whereas if some wrong is done to me, then some wrong has to be done to somebody to even it out. And if you play that tape fast forward, it always ends bad. Like, redemptive violence, I think, is a myth. And then if you play the idea that Jesus, the story of Jesus dying, was really the end of redemptive violence, and the idea that, okay, this is how we used to do things. Remember, you guys all thought that you had to, like, sacrifice, you had to do all these weird things in order to connect with God. You don't have to anymore.
Yeah.
That's over. Look, this is we're just done with it.
Yeah.
And I think with that perspective, then God is, like, really is here with us all the time, and it's like, is the animating energy of the, like, whatever language we want to use. And by the way, I mean, language is one of the construct of language is one of the biggest reasons also why my opinions have softened, because the word Satanist, the word Christian, the word happy or sad, like, these things conjure up different images to me than they do to you, because they're based on your experience. You're bringing them in through your filter. I'm saying them through my filter. Let alone we had different languages, different generations, different, like, whole civilizations. So the idea that any of that stuff is like a one-to-one translation is really hard. Like, one-to-one relationship it's really hard for me to to feel good about that perspective for me.
You're totally right. Pretty much, you can really break it down to this. Like, pretty much all of culture, religion, and language is just one giant game of telephone, right?
In a lot of ways, it is.
Never telephone,
Yeah, totally.
And yeah,
absolutely. And because all those variables exist, I don't know what you really hear when I say something.
it's true.
I don't sometimes don't even know that I'm saying it the way that I feel it, because sometimes it's hard to articulate.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm pretty. Yep.
and we're both white guys living in North Idaho, so we have like probably more shared context than with an Asian woman that lives in Arizona, or even a white guy living in Alabama. Like there's so much richness to the tapestry of context of life.
Ooh, that was good. That was beautiful right there. You should write that down.
I can forget that. I'll leave that there. There's just so much to that it feels like a bridge too far to assume that what's in my head makes it through my mouth to your ears and into your brain in a way that is, yep, we've got it. Done.
Right? You're so right. That's so right. And that's the biggest problem with the world, is because I say I love cookies and you think I'm talking about the...
Like, oh, you're an overeater. Okay, cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so like...
But it's also the beauty of the world.
Yeah.
Like it's a problem if the goal is for us all to think and believe the same thing.
Yeah, that's the... Sorry, continue.
I hear you. It's a problem when you're trying to get stuff done or you're trying to communicate a message. It's a barrier.
Yeah.
It also is like this opportunity for a brand new experience all the time. And I am not good at this, by the way. I'm not at all saying, oh yeah, this is how I live my life.
Yeah.
But when I'm mindful about it and talking it and thinking about this, like, what I would like to do is go into every engagement, every conversation with a sense of curiosity and really trying to like pick up as many cues as I can about your context and your whatever, so that when you do say your words, I can hear that for what it is. And then if I'm offended by it, then be offended. But maybe I'm not. And most of the time I'm probably not going to be. And that to me sounds like a really interesting life. Oh, it's a hard life to live on a day-to-day basis for me, but I really like couching the language thing as sort of another layer of the beauty of nature, as opposed to like, oh fuck, we gotta try and talk to each other again.
No,
it's not gonna work.
You're so right, because like I can, like exactly what you're saying, I can say something, or you can say something to me, and I can interpret that differently, but then that's going to spark my inspiration bubble, and now I got a beautiful painting because I saw what you said in a different way, or I saw the trees in a different way and whatnot. Like, I like the idea because like without that, we would have the world of the book 1984, right? George Orwell, where you committed a thought crime, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have to think and do exactly this way. I can't say it. Let me try. Totalitarian.
Totalitarianism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that's exactly the opposite of what humans are.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. You're making me cry, man. Your words are powerful.
Thanks, I'm sorry.
This is my favorite question to ask people,
okay.
And I ask it on everyone, so don't feel like you have to like come with some grand question. But so, what do you think deja vu is?
I mean, it seems pretty clear to me that it's a glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah, duh.
Change something and maybe...
Glitch in the Matrix. Yep. No, dude. Yeah, I love that.
Know, dude.
I love that movie.
I just watched that last night with my
Really?
son. Yeah, it was fun.
That's crazy.
A long time.
Well, I think to deja vu, whatever, derail that conversation. That's where we're going, man. Straight up with like VR and it becoming in the metaverse and like it's blowing up to this proportion and will in the future. It's like eventually you'll have it where people just live in pods. You know, they just live in pods and it's all in their head and they can be whatever they want, right? I call it the dopamine button. I didn't come up with it. Someone else said, I don't remember who, but you just sit there and you're just tapping dopamine, right? That's that's pretty much what all we want is just dopamine, right? So we just eventually that's what the point gets to when you have like the ability to do whatever you want. You do everything you want, and then what do? You did everything. There's nothing left. There's no challenges or conquering or none of that. There's nothing there. And so what do? You just sit there and you just dopamine.
Is that what you do? Do you only do what you want?
No, I mean that's what I'm saying. Like,
Why
that's
do you
like
do other stuff?
what I'm like. That's like the human experience. That's the whole point. Is you have to do stuff you don't want to do so you can eventually do stuff you want to do. Right? Like you don't like paying taxes, but you like a house.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't like, I don't know, changing your kid's diaper, but you want them to live. Right? But when you give people the ability with VR and having them be able to do literally anything they want, and eventually, you know, far down the future, pretty much live in that space.
I mean, and I'm really asking, do you think that there's an implication with a world of VR that, like, currency, eating, all those things will be, like, that will evolve away from those, either culturally or physically?
I think it's more, no, because the problem with, like, the Matrix is your body can't, for as far as I know, it's like your body can't withstand just laying in a bath. Like, right?
They had that set up, like, theoretically, all those things are, like,
that's
doing
true.
just enough to keep you alive. But have you read Ready Player One?
Yeah, I watched the movie.
Okay. Movies, I loved the movie until I saw the book. Or what? I loved the movie until I listened to
the book. Hey, you technically saw the book.
I did see the book. Well, I only saw it on Audible.
Shout out Audible. Love them.
Yeah, it's great. But so that, to me, that's like a great application for what a metaverse can look like.
Yeah.
Where it's physically immersive. It's still not, like, it's not exercise per se. But we see, at least in the book, we see, what's his name? I can't say his name, but start to realize that, like,
Player One.
Yes,
right?
exactly. But it's an immersive experience where you can have gainful employment. You can order food in the metaverse and it shows up at your house.
Yeah.
Like, and I get the pushback to that, and I would have pushed back really hard against that a few years ago. And I'm not, like, trying to bring it on. I'm not trying to usher it in, but I also feel like we're just not ready to accept that because that's so different from the world we know.
Yeah.
But at some, like, we couldn't have imagined sitting in front of screens and, like, tapping on a thing all day. 50 years ago, we couldn't have imagined that. Like, that would have seemed ridiculous. Yeah. But it's how our culture's evolved. It's how our society's evolved. People still do a lot of stuff they don't want to do. And I would argue too, like, I see what you're saying, and, like, as from a dystopian perspective, I get it makes a great story. I just think people so often act against their own self-interest. That the idea that, oh yeah, given if everything's, you know, if you could do anything you want, you would just do what you want all the time. I honestly just don't think that's true. I think there are a lot of people that don't already have that opportunity and choose not to for one reason or another, and those reasons are complex.
Well, straight up, are you done? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I hate when I listen to podcasts and the guest, like, always just, like, interrupts people. It's like I try my hardest not to interrupt people.
It's a great conversation.
Yeah, I don't think my biggest fear with why I create that dystopian future is because I see it now with our phones, and I see the destruction of imagination, right? Because you look at your phone and you, like, kids, I'm talking about, like, you know, young kids. I think side note, I think phones, I don't know if you do this with your kids, but if you do, sorry to call you out. But I think when a parent just has a phone or a tablet and they just give it to their kid instead of trying to make them happy, right? Kid's bored. He wants to do something. Whether that's play video games or toys or go outside, play with sticks and stones, right? But when you just give your kid a tablet and just let him just do whatever, I feel like that's somewhat child neglection. I think, and, like, I can't talk because, like, I'm happy that my parents somewhat did that. I was allowed to go on YouTube and watch funny YouTube clips, and those are one of my fondest memories. So I can't talk too much shit.
So what makes you think it's, talk me through that disconnect. So it was a positive experience for you.
It's, I guess, like, let me explain it better. Yeah. I think there's a difference. There's a time and a place. Like, hey mom, like, I did all my homework, I blah, 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 like, can I go watch YouTube? Yeah, that's fine. Can I go play with the tablet? Yeah, that's fine. I'm talking about when your kid's, like, wanting attention, right? Is crying, it wants attention. Talking about, like, you know, obviously an older kid, but when your kid, I don't know, I guess like
No, I totally hear what you're saying.
you get what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
there is like I've seen it at Walmart. You know, I've seen it where it's just like a mom just gives her 7-year-old a phone because it won't shut up.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that's neglection in
And
my
it
opinion.
like it happens at restaurants too.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think we were very intentional about that with our kids about not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yeah, it may be neglect, but there's so much research too now talking about the impact of that engagement on young brains that it sort of sets them up in a different way. So I think there's a lot to that, and I think there's a lot to a child being able to explore their physical world.
Yeah.
And
Like-
I like. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
My friend brought up a really good point when it comes to like when your kids get into high school and whether or not you should let them have a phone or not is it's like this is like totally for me, like when I was a kid and I watched SpongeBob and SpongeBob was dope and I love SpongeBob, and now when I go on the internet and I see SpongeBob memes, I understand them because I watch SpongeBob. But when you take away SpongeBob from a kid and don't let them watch SpongeBob, they don't know when they go into the world and someone brings up SpongeBob and they feel left out. They don't know what they're talking about. And like that's a smaller scale, but a phone is such a huger scale. When they go like all throughout high school and never having that experience, it's they don't fit in. They're not a part of the crowd. They're not cool, you know?
Is that one of your goals? Did you go through high school as one of the cool kids?
No, I was a hippie stoner kid that did art.
Were you sad about that?
Not really.
That wasn't cool either. And I wasn't sad about that.
Very fair point.
I'm not arguing either way. I will say that I mean, I think a phone is just a tool. A tablet is just a tool like anything else, needs to be managed. I wouldn't give a toddler a chainsaw.
Yeah.
My 13-year-old has run a chainsaw. I think he ran when he was 12 and
Yeah.
with supervision. And he definitely did, probably when he was younger than that at school.
Yeah.
So I think it takes discernment and paying attention to kids. And I think some kids will go on there and do stuff they probably shouldn't be, or like really maybe damaging or even really banal stuff I think is dumb. Like those, I don't know if you ever saw any of those like AI YouTube videos that were created. There was a minute where there were AI like basically video creators that would watch analytics and then grab pieces from popular videos and put them all together and generate a video and put it on YouTube for kids.
Yeah.
And some of them were really weird, like Mickey Mouse carrying Batman's severed head around with blood coming out of it. And
Yeah,
some of them were like, there was nothing necessarily wrong about it, but they were like, it was like the cinema of the I can't say it right now, but basically stuff that just like, it's not necessarily bad, but it makes your skin crawl a little bit.
Yeah, just like eerie.
It's just not right. There's something wrong about it. Like the way the characters move, or the way they're speaking to each other is weird.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. So you're definitely conveying.
There's some weird stuff.
Yeah.
I just think when brains are young and developing, maybe that's not the best time to introduce that stuff without any context.
Yeah.
But there's lots of great things. Like there's lots of great content and educational apps, and
that's true.
So there's good ways to use it, but I do think using it as a pacifier, I'm not a fan of that. We weren't fans of that, and I try really hard not to openly judge parents in restaurants when their kid is just on a tablet.
Yeah.
But for us, I always felt like it's okay. It's okay that you're bored, but you just have to sit here with us. We're at a restaurant. You sit up. You just have to like. Here's how you be a person.
Be a person.
Yeah, we're kind of showing. We're teaching you right now. I know it's uncomfortable. It's not natural. You'd rather be doing whatever. But at this moment in this restaurant, you have to be a person.
And it goes back to you were talking about, like, you don't want to do stuff all the time that like you were saying, like sometimes you have to do stuff you don't want to do.
Yeah. And
like that is what they are not teaching their kids. They're teaching them,
at least in those moments.
Yeah. They're teaching them the dopamine button, because here you go. Here's like with TikTok, that's a dopamine. Do you know what TikTok is?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's the dopamine button, because it's a 10-second video of just pure dopamine, right? It's just like this stupid, non-funny, but like it is funny because it triggers your serotonin and dopamine, but it just destroys attention spans, and it is just the dopamine button, and it just keeps giving me more.
Somebody's coming up with those ideas and creating that content.
That's true.
Like, it's also a really potent and interesting platform to have to like capture somebody's attention and do something interesting. Only in 10, you have 10 seconds
right,
to set a premise.
Not even 10 seconds.
Yeah, like you have this very limited amount of time to make an impression, make somebody feel something, make them connect somehow. Like, and I agree, I felt the same way that you articulated TikTok. That was absolutely my perspective for a long time. And it was similar with Instagram when it first came out. I was like, it's just a photo. Who cares? Who cares? But again, like I don't know what it is about me that I've in the last few years sorry, go ahead.
You're very good at seeing both sides of a coin. You're very good at that, like being able to see both sides of the coin. Easy as that.
I'm definitely I have a very flexible perspective, which is great for conversations like this. It's not always great, for sure, but it has its advantages for sure.
That was totally like not what I was about to like. We were talking about VR. I don't remember what I was going to say about VR. I don't know. I just think obviously everything's a good thing and a bad thing. I just worry that with the rise of technology and the dopamine button, and like, yes, there are people taking advantage of it and being creative, but there's a lot more of people who aren't.
It's true.
And having just imagination done for them, I would say, like, that's what VR is in a sense, is not using your brain to think of things, using someone else's things to make your brain happy. Does that make sense?
It does. I think I disagree, but it makes sense. I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
Well, how do you disagree? Let's hear it.
I mean, VR it's a virtual world, so it's creating images for you, but it's not, I mean, depending on the environment, it's not dictating your behavior, it's not dictating your thought, it's not dictating what you can or can't create. It's not dictating what you do in that environment.
Yeah.
And again, I resonate with the challenges of these things. I think I would probably sum up as we're talking through this, I would sum up a lot of my perspectives around technology. It maybe is sort of a Buddhist perspective of like, it's not good or bad. It just is. It's not good or bad. Technology is not ruining our country. It's not saving our country. It's not ruining our kids. It's not saving them. It just is. It just like a house. Like a house isn't good or bad, but it could fall on you.
Yeah, that's true.
Or it could be too big and you can't afford it. Or it can give you shelter, and a car can kill people. So but it can also get you somewhere you want to go much more efficiently and comfortably than walking or riding a bike. You know what I mean? Like,
it's
just changing so fast right now. So we don't have time to get comfortable with it. Like the speed of iteration is unprecedented in human history, and we're just not our brains aren't designed to like change this quickly, right? Like, things are definitely moving faster than we can keep up with.
Totally.
And so, of course, the default for stuff is we're going to say, whoa, hang on. Let's slow this down. That can't be good. And again, I resonate. I hear where that comes from, and I think it's very reasonable. But I also think it creates friction where none is necessary, where it's not helpful. I think if we, instead of fighting against the technology, if we focus our attention on, okay, what can be done with this? What are the dangers? Let's try and steer clear of that for ourselves and for our kids and our circles. But what can we do with this that's cool? Or maybe we just don't engage with it, but doesn't necessarily mean it's bad and the people that use it are going to hell or are gonna, whatever. I don't know.
I think, no, you are totally right. And I think that is a very good thing to realize about our culture or just our society versus a couple decades ago, is that now in our society, it's growing a lot faster and everything you're saying, but we do understand, like, okay, not everything is evil. We have to take our time, but look at this and truly understand it, versus, just an example, back in whatever, when marijuana became a big thing, people were like, no, right? This is horrible. This is bad, not good. And then boom, instantly bad, and don't even think about it. Nope. But now it's like, oh, maybe it is kind of good, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I have my own thoughts on marijuana, but that doesn't matter.
It matters. Your opinion's valid.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's like a whole nother topic.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Just the point is, like, I like what you said, that it just is. And now in our culture, we do, for the most part, there are some people that, sometimes we aren't the best when it comes to this, but for the most part, we do take the time and we do sit there like, okay, let's throw on the pros and cons list, right? Make sure it's okay. Versus back when we used to not do that. We used to just be like, oh, must be bad. Nope, it's bad.
Yeah, we're getting better at that, about not demonizing different things right away.
Totally.
Yeah.
So let me ask you the final question.
Okay.
Because we've got 2 hours going on. You probably gotta get back to your
wow.
wife and
Yeah,
kids.
totally.
Final question is everything you've been through. We didn't really go into like too much about your life and what you've been through. Doesn't matter, it's okay. But through your life, what you've been through, the goods and the bads and the uglies, what advice would you give to someone listening to this?
Oh, man. I think work on empathy. Make it a priority, because I think it at least will make your life easier, being able to see other people for where they're at, and it definitely makes other people more receptive to you, to your ideas, to who you are, if they feel seen and they don't feel judged. So I would say practice empathy as much as you can, of seeing the true perspective of somebody else and putting yourself in their shoes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be it at this moment.
A good thing that I listen to about empathy is that a lot of people they misunderstand that empathy and sympathy are two different things. Sympathy is having to look at someone and be like, I feel your pain. Empathy is to stand into their shoes and understand why and where that pain is coming from.
It's a good way to articulate it.
Yeah. I didn't come up with that.
No, it's great. And maybe it's pain, maybe it's joy, maybe it's like, why they let their kids look at that thing at dinner. Maybe it's why they love NFTs, or why they hate NFTs, or why they think I Can Only Imagine is an amazing song. Like, all these things, like there's usually a good reason for it. Sometimes that reason is, that's what I was told. And so that's still a reason, but a lot of times there's like a really good reason for it. Like, the parents at the restaurant, maybe it's, oh man, we just like, my dad just died, and we've been doing, who knows?
And who says like they're not doing something educational?
Yeah, they may be. And I'm not saying that those things are all good. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that it's easier and more fun for me to move through the world when I don't have to sit there pissed off because this world we're screwed because this is how people are parenting their kids, or whatever this. There's a million stories like that I can tell and have told myself over the years that just made my life less enjoyable and made it harder for me to get along with some people. And so
at the end of the day, like, when you're on your deathbed, you're not going to think about that.
I don't think so. We'll find out. I don't know.
That's true. We'll find out. But
I haven't even bought my deathbed yet. Hopefully.
I would like to believe though, like, because I totally understand. It's like, the example is when you care about what people think so much, you waste so much time. One of the things I learned I did and I'm working on doing is I always have to defend myself, right? Whether that's an argument or not. It could just be the simple statement of whatever, and I just have to defend myself because for whatever reason, And the example of why it's a bad thing is okay, so let's say in true defense mode, let's say you call me ugly, right? It's like, no, right? So now I'm going to spend 15 more minutes of my time and energy left on this planet to explain to you and try to convince you that I'm not ugly.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, okay, that is your opinion. It affects me, or not affects me, but it literally does nothing, right? There's no, other than like may hurt a little bit, for the most part, it doesn't do any justice trying to defend it.
Yeah.
So you just acknowledge it. What'd you say? That's what it is, and you move on. And now you have 15 minutes to do whatever you want.
Totally.
Left on the planet, and the energy it took to defend yourself.
That 15 minutes really adds up over time. Yeah.
Very true. Well, is there anything else you'd like to talk about or say?
No, this has been really fun, man. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it. Glad we finally made it happen.
Yeah, we've been anticipating it, right?
Yeah, totally.
All right, well, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Sharp enough to shoot, but is that good enough for you? It's neither happiness or loot. It's either bitterness or booze. Warm blood will wither as it fails. It's neither here nor is it there. I woke with ashes in my mouth, pine splinters in my paw and doubt. So we wait, and we wait for the sun to make its way. And at the end of the day, we wait. Skin as thick and hard as nails, but those who don't try don't have to fail. And those who don't garden don't plant seeds. That's not good enough for me. Warm hearts dry up and cease to be. Fresh water gone into the sea. I woke with crickets in my trees, blind lust and bitter thoughts believe. So we wait, and we wait for the sun to make its way. And at the end of the day, we wait. Pointing towards the stars. If I couldn't make it out that far and leave behind an empty shell, shine like gold, no hell to pay. Warm hands will break, it's all the same. Good eyes lose focus on the day. Good water goes and turns to flame. Then the ash gets blown away. So we wait, and we wait for the sun to make its way. And at the end of the day, we wait. Yeah, we wait, and we wait for the sun to make its way. And at the end of the day,